So Barbara Pelman and Karen Enns have each published 2 books within 2 years. Last year, Karen Enns was our featured reader and Barbara Pelman was her poetic opener. And this year they've done a switcheroo with 2 brand new collections. Our poetic opener, Karen Enns, is the author of 4 books of poetry. Cloud Physics, winner of the Raymond Souster Award, Ordinary Hours, That Other Beauty, and this new collection, Dislocations. Her poems have appeared in many Canadian literary journals, including the Malahat Review, the New Quarterly, Prairie Fire, and Grain Magazine. And she lives in Central Saanich. Please welcome Karen Enns.
Thank you, Karen. Can everybody hear me? It's good to be back here on a Friday night with all the poets and the poetry lovers. And it's really nice to be your opening act, Barbara. I'm going to start with 3 poems from early on in Dislocations, including the first one, Tanner Ridge. From here, the farm could be a map or a game board of neat squares. Each square, fenced in, holds 1 horse. Each horse has 1 trough, 1 blanket against the January cold. A woman in a red jacket carries a red pail and walks on the lane between the squares. As she walks, each horse turns its head to look after her, one by one. It is so slight, the motion of each head as she passes by with the red pail, so slight an attention. For a moment, she is thought, she is sent. Lineage. New houses will be going up past the back fence where a man named Lou used to live alone, used to sit and watch the deer run in circles around his house, wide circles, as his lot was large for the suburbs. Unmanicured, you might say, left a little wild for those deer, rampant ivy, salmonberry, spreading nuts of Oregon grape. And Lou would watch the deer, content, he said, because his wife had been content, watching 2 before she died. Watching the ancestors, maybe, of the ones he watched now from his chair. Except his now has also passed, and it is mine for a while. As I watch the deer that Lou watched, as his wife had watched, the deer that are not the same, except from a distance. Garden party. The moon is orange tonight, pure tangerine. It's the wildfires to the north and east, we're told. We see it through a canopy of fur above our heads as it moves along, or as we do, as the conversation does, which is steady, although random, and less fervent than the candles set in glasses on the table. They, at least, flick arguments, small mutinies into the dark. But who will remember the words? Those colorless moths that swerve and disappear. Not us. At midnight, we rise from our chairs, adjust our sweaters and shawls, and walk back under the gist of orange to where we were before we spoke. This next poem I'm going to read is from a group of 9 called East of Here. And they're all poems that are triggered by experiences in my childhood. This one's called After the Funeral. There were many in that small stucco house beside a field and in the dark. Many sitting on chairs around the rooms, And God was there, they said, and I had seen his shape, his hand in the light around the lamps and polished tables, the plates of food laid out. I was 9. Upstairs, the window where I stood was low enough to let the dark in, all of it, its animal thickness, shifting, changing, and the black leaves in the night scratched at the window and moved in the trees over the field, moved over her as she rested on the current, rested in her last resting, her thin hands folded on her chest, the skirt close at her ankles, the black shoes tied, her good lungs. But not the plaid shawl she wore around her shoulders on summer evenings when she sat outside in the yard. It could be, couldn't it, hanging on the back of a chair downstairs where the people were sitting. Even in the wind that rasped the leaves, the eaves, the window, her hair did not move. Her brown hair lay flat on her head, just brown, just flat. And then the eye, the glass one. And while the people in the rooms below spoke softly and were silent sometimes, most times, and the pale light of him watched over them, she floated among the poplars, not leaving or coming back, quiet, still, as if she hadn't decided yet. Or maybe it was him, or maybe she was waiting for a kind of light she would know to follow. If she moved, the eye might fall to the ground. It might land on the lawn and keep seeing, not from the side anymore, but facing the sky, straight up, shining. And if you touched it, say if you picked a leaf off the grass in spring, not knowing what lay underneath, it would be cold. I need to sip on my water. I'll just read one more called On This Day. Are we okay for time? Anything could happen. A revelation, for instance, appear in print, almost readable, on the fine strip of pearl at the edge of the earth. Or this could be a day on which every door is closed in your face. The walls could echo with the sound of barking dogs, the floor shake with rumblings of a train. Sunlight could streak through the blinds early or late toward evening, or the sky offer nothing but cloud and a sense of evasion. Be vigilant. A crow could land on the sill where the paint is peeling and speak to you in sentences so finely crafted you accept the message as good news from another realm. Or someone playing Chopin one street over, windows open, could be really good, and the elegant betrayals of meter clear the fences, oblivious to bylaws and borders. Or the day could go on as it usually does. Mullings, procrastinations, you deadhead geraniums in the faded pots, study the lizards invading the patio, and on a hunch, the foundation for cracks. You check the trellis for where, under the weight of clematis that's overshot all estimates of growth. And when the night comes down completely, you cross the street. You scan the eucalyptus tree, the only one on the block, and see the resident owl perched on a mid-level branch, alert for signs of the smallest transformation. Darkness tilts the universe. You hear a shift. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. That was exquisite. Our featured reader, Barbara Pelman, has 2 bios. This one is written by one of her students, Marcella Huerta. Barbara Pelman was born under an apple tree on the night of a lunar eclipse. Several days after her birth, she was stolen from her parents' camp by a pack of wild deer. They trained her in the ways of being austere, and their lack of English skills forced her to learn many hand gestures, which she has retained to this day. Even to this day, on every other weekend, she takes secret trips into the forest to visit her deer tribe family. They treat her as their queen and have a feast of herbs and other digestible plant life. These are her moments of great inspiration. She used to reside at Reynolds Secondary. Barbara actually has an MA in Literature from the University of Toronto and has taught high school, clearly, and university courses for 3 decades and is now retired, obviously with a great fan base of students. She has 3 previous books of poetry, One Stone, Borrowed Rooms, and Narrow Bridge, and a chapbook, Aubade Amalfi. Is that right? Mm-hmm. She is an active member of Victoria's vibrant poetry community, assisting at Planet Earth Poetry and conducting workshops, and we are deeply grateful for Barbara's work with that. Her new book is A Brief and Endless Sea. Oh, you can see it. Yeah, that's it. I'll try not to look it over. There we go. That's it.
So I'm so well trained that I brought my own timer. All right. It'll scare me. I'm going to just jump in and then I'll backtrack. After the divorce. After the empty hangers in the closet. After the sound of the car down the driveway. After all the emails, the galaxies of words, after the visits to lawyers, after the suitcases, the sorting of possessions, a chair for him, a couch for you, this painting for him, that one for you. After the moving vans and final cleaning, after the real estate agents and the boxes and the shiny new key. After the hammering and nailing and furniture arrangement, after the first sleep in the new home. After the first planting, after the dinner parties with odd numbers, the first visit from daughter, her needed approval, after the first Passover and the hesitant sign-ups, memoir courses, flute lessons, piano, after classes in language and painting classes, figure drawing and bookmaking, writing retreats and editing, after each book written, the launches. Who is to say this life is not the one you had been waiting for? Your name, bold on the cover. So, hello. It's great to be here. People said, "Are you excited?" And I went, "I'm just numb," you know. And then you come, it's like they call you up, and you go, "Oh my God, am I prepared? Am I anyway?" Terrific to see all of you here. This is so lovely. Thank you so much for Karen for the introductions. Thank you to Marcella as well, and Zoe. And thank you for all of you being here. Thank you to Caitlin Press for this really pretty book, and to Phyllis Sirota for the cover image. And I looked at it, it is just really a perfect sunrise. I see it in the mornings. And thank you to Jackie Saunders Ritchie, who managed to do a whole bunch of cover pictures that were bearable. Okay, and especially I'm so delighted because my editor Patricia is here, Patricia Young. It was, so all of you who write know the terror of being edited, right? Like, oh my God, you can't touch that. Oh, it's terrible. But it was so much fun with Patricia. And she just kind of took off the overcoats and the scarves and the toques and the everything that's not needed. And there's this nice, clean little poem that's left. So thank you, Patricia. Okay, so this collection began not out of my boredom with the pandemic, but a friend of mine who likes to organize poetry. And he said, I've got nothing to do, send me some poems. So that's how everything began. And it began, so he put it together. And then Patricia said, well, you need kind of a narrative arc. So this book has become sort of a little vignettes, it's a little bit memoir. And so there's 6 parts. And in the middle is a longer one about memory. But it starts with a typing class in grade 10. It ends with me contemplating death. So that should cover everything. All right. And also, I keep forgetting that there are actually people out there in Zoom land. So hello. Okay. So, and as you can see, I carefully put everything together, and I'm not gonna do it because because the new things come up, and I think I won't read that. I will read that. So it will be as it is, and we're going to begin with Girls' Basement Locker Room, King Edward High, 1958. Some of you were there around that time, and some of you were not. Down there, in front of the mirrors, we traded sweaters and boyfriends, redid each other's ponytails, prepared ourselves for the upstairs parade. Showers connected the lockers to the gym, where I learned the names of football plays, the dive, the sweep, so I could cheer with precision. In the cafeteria, a boy I had loved for 4 years ran his finger along my leg, from white wool socks to the edge of my pleated skirt. Regulation knee length, not the cheerleading skirts, much shorter. I perfected the cartwheel and the high kick, contrived to fail my math exam. Never impressed by my marks, my mother worried I was too independent, too smart for my own good, meaning marriage, of course. Warning or prophecy? But what if I had taken up calculus and the saxophone, moved to Brooklyn? What kind of difference would that have made? A woman sitting on a fire escape, playing jazz to the hot summer night. Okay. So this was when I was trying to decide whether I was going to read or not, and I think I will. First time. And you need a little bit of background on this. So one of the lovely rabbinical Jewish thoughts is that there are 3 times that you get to have a glimpse of the divine. It's sunrise, the Sabbath, and orgasm. First time, Jericho Beach, 1960. This moment was to change me from girl to woman, as splendid as sunrise, as beautiful as Beethoven Ode to Joy. What it was? Sand under my thighs, girdle twisted around one ankle. You should wash yourself out when you get home, he said. You know, a douche. So it is. Okay. This is ex-husband, and it's called Ex Culpa. After William Carlos Williams, you should be able to hear the reference. I've eaten all the strawberries from the garden we planted. Forgive me. I forgot your birthday this year. Strawberries in a blue bowl on the pine table I took from our home all those delicious years ago. Okay, so that's part of section 1. Section 2 is a little bit about my father and a lot about my mother. Some of you know my 107-year-old amazing mother. She's kind of a legend around here. But this is my father. The poem is called Chopin Piano Concerto No. 1, Adagio. You open the door, not sure if dread or excitement, slowly, slowly. There is a table set, food on porcelain dishes. You reach for a plate, a portion, and slowly the dishes disappear. It's always about loss. The song, a lament, an elegy, a requiem. One bite is all you get. Remember what it tastes like. Fill your mind with mango, persimmon, sherbet. The taste lingers like the last notes of the adagio, like the door closing and the car slowly driving away, the daughter growing up and moving across the continent, the father in his bed bequeathing you all his records. The Chopin piano concertos, the ones you listened to with him, both of you wired into earphones. Listen, he said, listen as the music fades. And then there's my mother. So, as I said, she's 107. She's had dementia for about 10 years, which is much, much harder for the caregivers than the person who just doesn't remember anything. So this poem is called Trying to Hold My Tongue. Each day, her voice, darling, I'm passing on my landline, cell phone, voicemail. The message, always the same, repeated a dozen times, not dislodged by logic or humor or anger. Whatever I tell her, she will forget. Each visit, I grade myself. Usually, it's a fail. I try different ways to learn patience. Today, I put a photo of my father near me so that he can admonish me. Take care of your mother, he told me. But Father, how long? When I walk with her, she tells me that the cars on the street should be in garages, the city should fix the sidewalks, the neighbor stole her newspaper, the helper stole her keys or her wedding ring, her earrings, that I should wear some lipstick, my grandson get a haircut. I am ashamed to write this. Other people are tender to their mothers, grieve their passing. I fear my mother will outlive me. I will one day short all the circuits in my body, die in electric rage. Mother, 106. It has taken me this long to love her again, this small person with missing teeth and no memory. I am no longer impatient when she repeats what she said a minute ago. I play rummikub with her, going over the rules again, helping her each turn. In between the pages of the newspaper she reads, the same page every time. She sleeps. We take a walk and she looks back. Where do I live? She asks. There, I say, on the 4th floor. Slow steps along the pathway. A rest at the park bench. Look, she says, what a blue sky. Okay, this is my grandson. The poem is called Sooner or Later. Only yesterday, it seems, he in Sweden, I in Victoria. Only yesterday, he believed me when I offered him chocolate, held the spoon to his fiber optic mouth. Only yesterday we picked raspberries in the garden. Only yesterday I pushed a stroller to Lillitork Square, lifted him to a high chair, fed him rice cereal, bananas. Only yesterday my daughter's pregnancy. Only yesterday my own. Soon I will be somewhere else and gone, but nowhere can I offer such thoughts to the morning air, breathe it to the darkening day, or tell it to my grandson when we rescue the drowning bee and watch its 6 tiny legs wriggle, then stop. Everything that lives will one day die, I tell him solemnly, this big lesson for a small boy. But not you, Bubby, he assures me. Not you. This is not about the grandson. He gets 2 poems, of course. Don't write about your grandson, they warn me. It will be hallmark. It will be exclamation marks across the page. The only people who will love it, who will love another poem about your grandson will be other bubbies, but they will be determined to outdo you. Your daughter cringes and tells you not to use the love emoji, not to comment at all when she posts another adorable picture of the adorable grandson, and adorable is one of the words not to use. But look at him in his muddy buddy, curly blonde hair under his toque, blue eyes full of wonder, puddles. He places one sneakered foot in this unexpected pond where there were only sidewalks yesterday. It splashes. It wets the toes. You can sit in it like a cold bathtub. Water everywhere. Nobody wants to hear about the time he threw up his beets, was astonished at the red he created. They had their own stories, photos on Instagram, fridges covered with crayon drawings. Tell me about your travels, my friends say, eager to hear anything other than the time my grandson, watching his toy train circle the Christmas tree, headlights blazing in the early mornings, declared, I love how the light cleaves the darkness. I know I've read that dozens of times, and maybe I can get away with it once more, but okay. And because it's almost December 1st, and because, oh my God, there's Christmas stuff everywhere. So Christmas, the season of lists, the season of debt, the season of sleepless nights, followed by the season of loans and worry. These days, I'm mostly off everybody's shortbread list. No longer a husband to buy expensive gifts for, no longer a daughter living at home, now her own home and family. These days, Christmas is a quiet morning, a walk along a deserted beach, books I have saved for this time. It's not my holiday, I remind myself. Childhood Christmases spent away from everyone else's trees and presents, content with the 8 lights of Hanukkah, small stacks of money, and a spinning dreidel. Nes Kadol Haya Sham, a great miracle happened there. Light for 8 days, oil for the eternal light. These days, the night creeps closer. My grandson walks home from school in darkness, his rain boots dotted with luminescent stars. All right, I think we're going to get a little bit heavier. None of this sweetness and light, certainly not in this world. Difficult advice. Isaiah said, God is my greatest comfort and my greatest sorrow. I don't know how to talk about this. I understand the sorrow part, know about loss, about injustice. I don't know where comfort lies. My friend, now in hospice, only a few weeks ago, making quilts for grandchildren, cancer and assassin in her body. My daughter, newly a single parent. So, love doesn't last, she once asked. My own marriage in shambles at the time. I write, All mistakes lead to blessings, as if writing would make it true. Though I know I am offering a script that doesn't fit the facts. A mistake is a mistake, and seldom is there comfort, not in the soft lights above the Aron HaKodesh, not in the rising tide along the seashore, not in the Gary Oak meadows, not even my grandson, his hand in mine, waiting on the sidewalk, chanting, left, right, no cars. So the Aron HaKodesh is that eternal light that is always in a synagogue, so it's always on. It's electric these days. This is for Wendy. I don't know if Wendy's out there. And how's our time? Oh, good. So those of you and those of us who used to go to retreats where Wendy was boss, she would make all the meals. And so breakfast was this, I was allowed to make the appetizer. So the appetizer breakfast was applesauce with yogurt, flax over it, bananas around, and pomegranates everywhere. So that was just, so my love of pomegranates is definitely from Wendy. So thank you, Wendy, not only for the pomegranates, but for all those retreats and for all the ways that we love poetry because of you. So this is in 6 parts, pomegranate. And I'll just pause in between each section. Seeds, carefully scooped from their tight nest, nail polish red, apple of paradise red, don't give a damn red, brothel red, her prices above rubies red, that red. There is a trick to opening one. First, slice off the top under the stem, and the fruit opens neatly into 8 sections, each covered by its white translucent blanket. Little jewels coaxed into a bowl, onto the yogurt, into the mouth, the juice, red tooth, crunch of the seed. The rabbis say there are 613 seeds, like the 613 mitzvahs, deeds to guide your days. Written in the Torah, 248 do's and 365 don'ts. Do not gossip. Do not testify falsely. Respect your parents. Do not insult anyone. Do not engage in astrology. Rest on the 7th day. The rabbis suggest that the tree in the middle of the garden was not an apple, but maybe a pomegranate. How much longer a time from innocence to knowledge, from ignorance to knowledge, from innocence to sin. Time to contemplate this seminal action. Eve sitting in the grass, struggling to cut through the thick skin, soon covered in pomegranate blood. An apple is so much faster, a quick bite, not a careful, tooth required, pull out each seed one at a time, premeditated temptation. And why not? The mysterious fall, the necessary path outward, from garden to desert, from shelter to storm, still red-handed. I offer a pomegranate to my grandson, age 5. Here's how you open it, I show him, and he gets to work patiently pulling out each seed. We are bloodied by juice on the floor, on the counter, our hands murdering the fruit. My fingers mistype the word each time. Pomegranate, the poem inside the fruit. Delicious words I feed to my grandson. Raven, hawthorn, Oregon junco, metaphor, migratory, persimmon. Words in our mouth, 613 of them. Okay. So one of the things I'm involved in is this wonderful project called Calling All Artists. And it meets once a month with the rabbi for 4 or 5 times, and the rabbi gives us some marvelous bits of knowledge about a particular theme. And so we've taken a look at the first chapter of Ezekiel, and we've looked at dreams and prophecies, and we've looked at the binding of Isaac, and we've looked at death in the afterlife. And so some of these poems have arisen from those. And this one uses as its title a wonderful 4-line stanza from the Talmud. So the title it is the first line, and then there's a head note of the other 2 lines. I skipped the middle one. So it's called "Do Not Be Daunted by the Enormity of the World's Grief." And the head note is, "You are not obligated to complete the work, neither are you free to abandon it. Every bit counts. Choose peace in your own life. Forgive your own flailing self, your wrinkled face, your wrecked knees. Make friends with failure. Praise the getting up. Forgive the falling down. Buy the electric bike, the solar roof, the heat pump. Learn to say no quietly and yes exuberantly. Praise the bent world. Offer it whatever solace you can." Okay, and then I'm going to end with the last poem in the book. So there's some wonderful Jewish traditions about death and about how to die. And one of them is, so I'll read it to you and you'll get this. So it's called "How to Leave This Good Earth." And the head note says, "In attendance at death are 2 angels, Pura, who is the angel of forgetting, and Duma, the angel of silence, helping the soul let go of the body." So in Jewish tradition, the soul hangs around for 24 hours. And so when someone dies, they have to be guarded for those 24 hours so that the soul can say goodbye. And then the person is buried in a shroud. So no matter how rich you are, you just get the same pine coffin and the same linen shroud, and there you are. So here's the poem. And it's in 2 sections. Pura, the angel of forgetting, carefully unties each knot that binds you. The thin silk ones that can be whisked away like the addresses of homes you once lived in, or the names of the flowers in your garden, the names perhaps, but not their scent. Not the bouquets you made of them each morning, dropped them in a vase, brought them to your lover. The difficult ones are thick like lines on a ship, tied tightly to the bollards of your bones, require hours of whispering in your ear. Let go, let go. Early morning along the beach, tide coming in, sun rising and sunset, rain, then wind. Blue islands in the Salish Sea, cedar and pine, bare limbs of arbutus, sheen of rain on bark. You think you might be able to do this, might relinquish color and scent and sound. Brahms Symphony No. 2, Adagio, Chopin Etudes, the last notes of Beethoven sonatas. But how to leave daughters and sons, the grandchildren who will grow up without you? If I could tell you, I would let you know. In the meantime, love all things. Listen carefully to the words of your children. Plant small gardens. Hold tight. Thank you. Thank you.